Two Atlanta-based environmental groups are trying to come together to try to keep the Chattahoochee River from being a victim of federal budget cuts. Here with us today is Brittany Jones, Executive Director of the Chattahoochee National Park Conservancy. Welcome to the show, Brittany.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, talk to me about the importance of the federal funding for the river, especially the Chattahoochee River National Recreation Area.
Yeah, I think, what I want to start out by saying, and I guess emphasizing, is our park here in the Metro Atlanta area has been chronically underfunded and under-resourced for over a decade now. And what we're seeing since the start of this year is really an attack on even more, I would say, resource and funding allocation toward our park and parks across the country. There's been more of a strain and amplification on the issue for staffing and budget cuts and hiring freezes. And now there's a proposed budget out there for the National Park Service, which in turn would affect our Chattahoochee down here, of $1 billion cut to a $3 billion agency. So there's a lot of concern swirling around right now for our park.
You said it's been underfunded for the last 10 years? Is that right?
At the very least, the National Park Service has the internal reputation, I would say, of not being funded quite enough for what it needs. Our park out here in Metro Atlanta, what I like to say is Atlanta's Backyard National Park, has now a deferred maintenance of over $53 million. So their budget just hasn't been able to cut what they need to keep up with just the growing demand of being in an urban area with high visitation. I mean, this is in consistently the top 30 most visited national parks in the country.
How have you guys been bridging the gap with that?
Well, we pick away at it as much as we can. So we are the nonprofit friends group to the national park, and our mission really is to enhance the park. And so we don't try and come in and necessarily fill the gaps that the federal budget just isn't cutting necessarily, but we do try and work with the park to help build on the priorities of what the park needs for the community to enjoy the park, and also for it to just be here for the future generations. We want it to be here 100 years, 200 years from now, and for folks to have the same experience that they have today and 100 years from now. But it really is just trying to chip away year after year with what they can do with the money that they are given through federal appropriations. And it really is an uphill battle. So this year is especially difficult, seeing even more proposed cuts to the budget.
Yeah, often people think, and I'm sitting here thinking that national parks are well protected. I don't know if you can see my face or not, but I'm surprised about how fragile this is. I mean, how surprised are you when people find out that, of situations like this, and when they hear about this? Are you surprised by that?
Oh yeah, I think there's been some very strategic, I guess, actions taking place for the visitors of the parks across the country. I mean, this isn't happening in a bubble at the Chattahoochee here in Atlanta. It's happening across the country, across 433 parks, but for the visitors not to really be affected. So if you go into the park today and you pay your $5 fee, I hope, you won't really feel what's going on behind the scenes, because the Park Service has really been directed to stay open and accessible and keep operating. But what's happening behind the scenes, as there's hiring freezes, folks are being encouraged to take early retirement buyouts, vacancies aren't being filled. There's certainly an encouragement for reductions in force that we're seeing. So there's a lot of scrambling behind the scenes to stay open, and the visitors don't feel that. So you won't feel it if you're going on a hike today at the Chattahoochee. Gotcha. But there's certainly a lot of concern, and it's certainly just kind of swirling behind the scenes. And on top of that, as we go into federal appropriations season for next year, we're even worried, because there's not a ton of information being passed down to the physical parks themselves, and even more to the nonprofit partners, of course. But how does $1 billion cut affect the Chattahoochee and parks across the country? We don't know. So our worry is, what is going to be the sacrifice that needs to be made, because these parks do need to stay open? Is it going to be conservation, resource management, all those really important things that happen behind the scenes so this park can stay as it is today?
Brittany, we're running out of time here real quick, but if you can tell me in a minute, A, what happens if you lose this funding, and B, how can people help you out?
Well, if we lose the funding, I think that we're going to see a lot more activation, especially for groups like us, nonprofit partners to national parks. I think we're going to have to take a much bigger role in how we support the parks. what people can do right now is call their elected officials. I mean, parks are a nonpartisan space. I think you just need to call and tell folks how much you love your national park and how important it is to you. And we have a lot of great resources on our website to learn more about what's going on. And honestly, just becoming a member of our organization, those dollars go right back into the park. So
Gotcha.
any little thing helps right now.
Brittany, so thank you so much for your insight. Thanks for alerting us to this as well. Really appreciate it.